Okay, fantastic. Well, welcome to the weekly review. How's everyone got on this week in general? Found it a difficult week to trade with the low volume and sort of channeling and small breaks, then break back in? Yeah, not nice to trade, but it's been an odd one. But we know non-farm weeks in general tend to be like that. Yeah, I mean, we've traded very little really as well. Anyway, on to our first trade of the week. It was a short of euro dollar, and if I can take off the auto scroll, our first trade of the week came, and obviously looking back at it now, doesn't look so great, but off the resistance point, 50% fib, previous highs, as you can see from, if we just zoom out a bit, from over the last couple of weeks, building across at this 50% fib level. We took a short position here as she came up to that level. If I zoom into a 15-minute chart, we'll get a better picture of it. This was our short entry here, off 127.40. We put a stop up at 127.70. It was a 1% trade as it was just ahead of the news. And very, very quickly, although we had stochastics in order, 2 resistance points, top of the channel, and it sadly didn't work out. And that was a very, very quick trade to be in and out of. I think it took us all of 15 minutes to be in and out of that. So we started the week nastily on a 1% loss. We then very quickly moved across to really the major pair we've traded this week, and we took, if I can get auto scroll off on this one as well, we took a short on dollar CAD, and I'm sure you will remember this. It was up here at, first trade was at 55 on the first break back down off the double top, stop above at 85. Now once we got this break here, we moved our stop to break even, and of course she came back and took us out. Now, not to stop us trading, we took another position again at 61 this time, and we had a stop again at 85 above, and we ran that trade back down, held on. We held through this spike here, and eventually we had to close out down here at around the 106.30 level, and we took 1.3% on that trade. So that left us currently standing at 3.3% up, which was pretty awful when you consider the next day she went from being what could have been went from a 1.3% trade for us to eventually going down and hitting our target at 55 for a full 4%. Yep, I'll let as many of you repeat that word as possible. Absolutely, I was a plum, and yeah, or a prune, whichever one you like. And sorry, I have to just give the trademark for that, courtesy of Mr. Hussey. Anyway, and yeah, I feel a bit silly for that because it was a great setup, but it was coming into overnight, and I couldn't face putting a stop at break even, and I couldn't face putting a stop at break even and coming back and finding her closed out. And it was just one of those things. I just took the profit and pretty much immediately regretted it, because we then went and saw this move coming in, pushing the whole way down over the next day's trading. Of course, I was ever hopeful we would have got a re-entry, but sadly we didn't. Anyway, that led us to our third trade, which was a dollar CAD trade, and this was the double bottom here off monthly pivot, daily 20. Trend was up, still up, and we have support at 104.75. We moved our order up from 75 to 85, and very kindly the news yesterday did us some favors and pulled us back into that trade, and then of course she took off quite nicely. Now just before the news, as you know, moved the stop to 40. That one did go, and sadly not going to give me my 7.7% that I was going to be looking for. Instead, it closes me out on 2.75% profit on that trade, which takes us to just over 3% on those two. And of course, the final trade of the week, moving over to Aussie dollar was Aussie dollar last night, building up in this position here, and settling in to a nice little rhythm. Overnight caused lower lows and lower highs. Of course, we didn't have confirmation of a higher high just now. It just decided to break, and that for me was a bit upsetting, because if we just look at that chart there, we have lower highs and lower lows, and of course these two candles are now just going to look a little bit off because they're the news candles. And of course, after an original stop at 25, I brought my stop initially to break even and then moved it back out to 20 and then to 17, and that led to a 11 bit. And that led to me having a it's pretty much a 0.5% loss on dollar CAD, on Aussie dollar, and that obviously deducts from our 3.05 and leaves us with just over 2.5%. It's not great, I have to admit, and I'm not particularly happy with that, because I thought the setups we had with dollar CAD earlier in the week, I think we could have quite easily seen ourselves up at 5 or 6% this week. But considering it is non-farm week, overall I have to be pretty happy with that, and I just have to walk away and say, well, next week's another week, and we'll keep trading as we have. We've found some great entry points, we've managed some trades pretty well, and we just now need to build on that. And obviously with lower volume next week, not so many big news statements, we will just have a look ahead now and go through some of them. Okay, starting on Monday, we have Halifax HPI any time between Monday and Thursday of next week. That can come out. We then move into Tuesday. We've got Aussie dollar interest rate statement, followed by Bank of Japan press conference. Wednesday, home loans and manufacturing production from the UK, followed by quite a lot of CAD news on the Wednesday, building into building permits, Bank of Canada rates statement, overnight rate, IV PMI. Thursday, we're obviously not going to catch those Aussie figures, but we will have the pound asset purchase facility, obviously the Monetary Policy Commission committee meeting, rate statement, moving into housing starts, trading balance on CAD. So it is the tail end of next week, which is busy, and of course Friday sees a few trade balances and unemployment figures. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's an annoying end to the week, because we could have gone for glory there and had a lovely trade. Had that news come out, I think, as the majority of people were expecting, in the negative. Anyhow, we traded safely, brought our stops in well, and on to next week, I feel, and potentially, hopefully, some more trades, some more good setups, and hopefully the market will choose a design or a level to move to that we can start trading again.